And welcome back to Happy Hour on At the Track Radio. It's Ryan Sudol, Dave White, and Nick Shepkowski here, bringing you home on the home stretch. We're going to break down the Sprint Cup Series standings. We're also going to give you our Black Flag of the Week, which I believe we have not kept too secret so far this show. I'll give you a little hint. We spent a half hour ripping them. So if that's any hint, that's what our Black Flag is probably going to be this week. Of course, last week it went to the lovely Milka Duno and Danica Patrick for that fantastic cat fight. But let's break down the Sprint Cup Series standings as we get 6 races away from the chase for this Sprint Cup Series championship. Fantastic. I just love saying all the names over and over and over again so I can get my tongue twisted as many times as possible. But we have Kyle Busch.
It's a family show, Ryan.
I know.
Keep tuning, okay?
I know. Kyle Busch is still your points leader. He's got 3,004. And behind him, Dale Jr., 253 points behind him. So that's more than a full race. So, again, I'm not going to say what I said about a miraculous accident again for Kyle Busch, but barring some odd miracle, Kyle Busch will go into the chase.
Where do you get your metaphors from? Odd miracle?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess any miracle would kind of stand in the realm of odd.
That's why it's a miracle. Could be wrong.
Jeff Burton, 8 points behind Dale Jr. Jimmy Johnson jumps up to 4th place, but only 5 points ahead of Carl Edwards, who, without that 100-point penalty earlier in the year, would be in 2nd place. I just need to point that out.
Where else do you finish second in a race and then lose a spot in the standings?
I guess only at Indy when you lose because Jimmy Johnson gets the bonus points.
Exactly.
And then Jeff Gordon is 140 points behind Carl, so still strongly in the chase. And Jeff is more and more solidifying that, but we'll see if he's able to get a win in before we get to the chase. Greg Biffle in 7th. Denny Hamlin jumps up to 8th.
Did you know, 1 second, with Greg Biffle, if he had a 100-point penalty this year, he would not be in the chase right now.
That's
just
a very
thought I'd
good
let you
point.
know.
He would be tied with Kevin Harvick. That's. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate
the
that.
advanced math on this show is just making my head hurt.
Oh, Lord. And then Denny Hamlin, like we said, jumped up to 8th. Casey Kane in 9th place. Tony Stewart in 10th. Matt Kenseth 11th. Clint Boyer is the last one in the chase right now. He jumps up to 12th place, but only 2 points ahead of Kevin Harvick. And then there's David Reagan and Brian Vickers also knocking at the door. And if we're going to just keep doing math like that, I would just like to point out that Martin Truex Jr. would be in 15th place without the 150-point penalty that he incurred a couple weeks ago.
A well-deserved penalty, too.
Too bad.
Of course, you guys are going to say that because he's the driver that I root for. But
that's right.
We're just going to have to roll with it now. But as we look...
it's tough to keep pace of which driver you pull for. Seems like it changes every 3 weeks.
Let's see, who's in the lead? That's who I'm for.
Okay, Kyle Busch. Yeah, he'll be going for him.
Dale Jr.
Dale Jr., what do you know?
God forbid if David Gilliland ever wins a race.
Oh you guys just need to stop it right now. But as we get close to the Sprint Cup Series chase... And obviously, Kyle Busch would be in first place with the 7 victories. Right behind him would be Carl Edwards. He's got 3 victories. And then Jimmy Johnson and Casey Kane, the only other multiple race winners, each with 2. And then Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, Denny Hamlin, and Clint Boyer, all with 1 victory this year. Again, Clint Boyer not guaranteed a chase spot. And then the other 2 drivers with wins, Ryan Newman obviously winning the Daytona 500 right at the beginning of the year. And then Kurt Busch winning the range-shortened race a few weeks ago are basically out of the chase without a chance. But that is, I mean, that's the way it's running down here as we get to the chase. We're 6 races away. As we keep seeing these races, guys, is there anyone you see in particular that's going to be knocked out or going to possibly solidify their chance in?
I'm still not sold on Casey Kane. It seems like we say this every week that Casey Kane's going to go on a cold stretch at some point, and with him only 80 points or so ahead of Kevin Harvick right now. Just feel that Casey Kane, kind of a flash in the pan there for a little while in the middle of the year, got really hot there for a while and did very well. I don't think that's going to hold up. I think he's due for a major letdown in the coming races. And I know it's tough to say the person in 9th place right now have that many people pass him, but I just feel that he's going to have a bad outing somewhere along the lines before the chase, and that Kevin Harvick's still going to sneak back in.
It's been tough for the Dodgers all year. Casey Kane has really been the flag bearer for the Dodgers. Casey is pretty much in the top 12 right now because of a 3 or 4 week stretch he had about a month and a half ago, and he's been, fairly inconsistent since then. He's had some bad finishes this past week at Indianapolis. He had a good finish. But I would agree with you, Nick. I think he's one guy whose situation or his ranking right now in the top 12 is kind of tenuous. Another guy who's obviously very tenuous right now, just points-wise, too, is Clint Boyer. He just kind of snuck in this week when Kevin Harvick had a run of bad luck. At Indianapolis, he was caught up in the Kurt Busch situation. But, those are the two guys I think that probably are very tenuous right now. And I think Kevin Harvick and David Reagan are poised to jump in there whenever those guys slip up at this point. I cannot fathom a chase without Kevin Harvick. Yeah, I really think he's going to be in the chase at some point.
I totally agree with you there, Dave, and we're running a little short on time, so we got to get to our Black Flag segment. It's no surprise who it's going to go to this week. We hammered him for about a half hour earlier in the show. No doubt it goes to NASCAR and to Goodyear this week for just putting on an absolute poor showing.
Yeah, I think it's important that we say it's NASCAR and Goodyear. It goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Not much to add with that, but absolutely right. It goes hand in hand. NASCAR should have done a better job with testing. Goodyear should have presented a better tire. Both of them at fault. Both of them dropped the ball.
That's going to do it for our show this week. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to Happy Hour here on At the Track Radio. We'd like to thank Jason Trotter, the executive producer of Happy Hour. Also thank NASCAR.com for the cuts from the Robin Pemberton, the VP of Competition for NASCAR, for their press conference and the use of that. For Dave White and Nick Shepkowski, we'll say we'll see you at the track.